Welcome to today's DappLearning share meeting. We maintain a free and open source Dapp development tutorials on GitHub. We hope we can not only give junior developers an executable and simplest blockchain DappLearning roadmap, but also present advanced developers with a platform for communication and cooperation. Today, we invited Dr. Zhou to share on the future of Web3. Now let's welcome Dr. Zhou.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah, it's my great pleasure to be here to present my topic about on the future of Web3. So especially thanks for DappLearning friends and community members to participate in this event. Actually, right now we see like recently the Web3 is a very, very hot topic. Not only because like sometimes we say like decentralized applications, but recently, for example, NFT is also becoming a really hot topic to connect the crypto world and also the world that is outside crypto. So a lot of artists and also a lot of companies, they are actually entering this markets because there are several the benefits that can be built on top of Web3 that can hardly offered by, for example, traditional centralized company. And so, today, actually, I will give my general thought about what the current Web3 looks like, how people are using Web3, and what is the problem that people are facing. And what is the solution, or what should the future of the Web3 looks like? I'm also happy to, if you have any questions regarding, for example, during my presentation, feel free to interrupt me, and then we are free to discuss during the presentation. So the first thing is like how people now interact with Web3 infrastructure, namely blockchain, right? So people now use like a blockchain as the infrastructure of Web3, so people can enjoy, for example, sometimes people call censorship resistant. That means all the assets you own created by Web3, it's owned by yourself, not by, for example, any centralized identity that is able to freeze your asset or even confiscate your asset. That basically like to take your asset to them because any for example politics or laws. And another is transparency, which means that all the data, user data, is on blockchain. That means the company, like originally in the Web3, those centralized company, they are able to earn a lot of money by monopolize the user data, how users use their data, how users read their data, and sell them to, for example, other people like advisors, and so that they can earn a lot of money. But now in Web3, it's completely different because every user data is on chain. So everybody can use this data, or you can choose to not to disclose this data, or you just show to everybody. So there's no one is able to control the data, how did this data, for example, to censor this data to, for example, to other people. And so those are several great benefits that Web3 offers. So in order to enjoy those benefits, so the user in general needs a way to interact with blockchain, the Web3 infrastructure. So firstly, it will browse the website of the app, for example, OpenSea, which is the top NFT marketplace. And then the server, the OpenSea.io, will respond to the app, and with the web content that needs to will be displayed on the user's browser. So in this step, it may further access called a node service provider, NSP, which is, for example, there are a couple of famous ones that is like some Infura, QuickNode, And so they are able to retrieve some data from the blockchain. Right, for example, here I gave a blockchain on Ethereum, which is gas node, and then connect to the blockchain network. And after received the data from the application server, then the user may further access this node service provider to basically dynamically generate this data, to rendering those on-chain data. For example, how much price the seller provided on a single NFT, and what are the metadata of the NFT, for example, how the picture looks like. And in general, that is the way. And then once the user wants to decide, oh, this is something that really good, I want to offer a bid, or even I just want to buy it directly, and I offer a price that higher the seller, then the user is able to submit a transaction still via a wallet, for example, MetaMask, and then connect it to our node service provider, and then further we'll push this transaction to the node broadcast into the network. Okay, so this is how general, I think 99% of how the users now are interacting with the blockchains. So it looks like, oh, it's really the same way as Web2, right? Because like people still type this web page DNS, and it will translate so first type the URL and then translate the domain to the IP to our DNS, look at the server, and then response. And so there is a problem here. Say, hey, we are Web3. Everything should be decentralized. But actually, 99 users, when accessing these services, they are centralized. So for example, actually I push 3 dashed lines here, and which tells this connections is kind of, I would say, like it's kind of like untrusted. Because, for example, a service provider may censor the content of the user. So last time I showed an interesting blog that is written by the founder of Signal, a famous privacy application. And he wrote his impression of Web3, where he wrote an NFT with some fancy feature. And then OpenSea says, hey, this feature that is not the one we like. And it just stopped offering this NFT on the marketplace, kind of a censorship. And at the same time, because MetaMask is also using the OpenSea service, and so that he also found his NFT is also disappears from the MetaMask, so that he cannot access his NFT unless he's able to access it directly via a blockchain, for example, through Etherscan or other services. And that is quite challenging for a non-technical guy. And another thing is that all these servers, because they are centralized, then they also have a lot of users read access data that are not available to other, for example, users, because that is the only information that is visible for them. So essentially, they can still sell your data. They can see, oh, where you submit the transaction. Oh yeah, that's a nice reference here. So where you can, what's your IP? What's your browser? What's your is using mobile or is using Chrome? And where are you? So this information can, for example, one application is that like MetaMask can sell an application to maybe SEC, to IRS, so that they are able to collect those information and to find you, right? So it's kind of like we are still, even we have pretty good infrastructure on the right hand side, which is like we have a very mature serial node, you have pretty mature Ethereum network thanks to Ethereum's framework. And so I put solid line here. But so this solid line we can fully trust the data that is on chain. Nobody is able to consent it, and I can access the data. And without concern of this like centralized concerns. But again, actually 99% of these users' interactions are still in a centralized way. So what's difference? What's difference, right? This is the same question raised by the guy called Moxie. Is that, oh, why people, it says, oh, why people are they believe like we should decentralize everything, right? But now it's still centralized. And further, like for example, there's an event in last year, the Uniswap, which is a famous decentralized exchange. They are forced to delist several trading pairs because this trading pair offers some tradings on Ethereum network with kind of a synthesis stocks, US stock, which is not allowed by SEC. So Uniswap, I'm not sure they whether receive a warning letter or subpoena from SEC, but then they have to delist it because SEC can still find them and say, hey, you are not following our rules. Then they can sue them in court and ask them to forcibly to delist this information. And so that at that time, SEC is Security Exchange Commission. It's in Chinese, it's called what? 银监会? It's the basically which one controls all the IPOs of the United States exchanges, including NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange. 证监会, yes. So it's one of the, I would say, one of the most influential organization in crypto, because if it defines our token is a security, then according to the law they set up, SEC setup, then you are not allowed to like circulate the tokens to the public. You can maybe able to offer them to institutional investors, but you are not allowed to, for example, sell them or circulate them publicly, which is now, I know in the crypto world is completely different mindset. And actually their director, this Gensler, he is also a famous crypto educator. So they are very expert in this area. All right, so back to the Uniswap event. So for example, Uniswap was asked to forcibly delist those tokens. And so Uniswap did it. But at the same time, they said, hey, you can access a very a URL that is on the basically in the IPFS, and that is basically you can kind of an uncensored version of Uniswap. But at the same time, an awkward URL. Actually, I should see that, but I cannot like read because it's so complicated. It's written in a hash of the website. So censorship is still there. And so further, since it's centralized, that means they can be attacked. That means especially can be attacked that nobody may not be aware. For example, Clayton's Swap recently has an attack. Actually, this kind of attack happened several times because their website, when asking for a proof of transaction, a proof for using user asset, the module was hacked so that the address that is going to be allowed to use your asset, the proof who is able to use the asset, is a malicious address. is a MAC address from a hacker. Actually, several other websites has similar attack. So that when you approve that, you are actually not approving these applications to use your assets on behalf of you, but actually you are approving a hacker to steal your asset, which means that the content itself is not trusted because it's hacked, because it's centralized, so that it can be easily hacked. And so this happened several times. So the great question comes, hey, why we are so this? Like we said, we have those benefits, but we're still under the shadow of the Web3 or centralized world. So what's the root? What are the root causes? And so I think this is really good article because I think this guy is really expert in Web2. So from his like the observations, he believes there's two causes. First is that nobody wants to run their servers, right? Because users just want to use some convenient tools. And even for the organizations to maintain, the servers here is for the blockchain node, which I put here because this is fully trusted. I can fully trust it and know a node and run and any data on top of that. That is the great value that blockchain brings. But very few people run their servers. Maintaining such servers can be extremely costly and also time-consuming. I run a lot of nodes every time. Then every day I need to check. Oh, are they still running? Oh, any issue? Oh, out of memory. Okay, restart. Oh, out of disk. I need to resize add more data to my cloud server. So a lot of things that need to be done for this. And sometimes there's upgrade. Then I forgot it. For example, Ethereum fork upgrade. I forgot it. Then later I come back. Oh, why my node is not running? Oh, sorry, out of date. So this actually resulted in a lot of popularities of clouds and also no service providers such as Ethereum. So I put it right here. And second is that the centralized development, software development is still much faster than decentralized platform. And which is the key success of Web2. So just push your product first and then first iterate behind the servers because they do not need to deliver this product to the end users, for example, computers. This software just running behind the servers. So every time the user, the first hour you browse the Google and the next hour you browse Google, they may be different. They already have different versions that is maybe already deployed and show you. And for example, Google, Facebook, I used to be there. So there are a lot of infrastructure to make this fast iteration happen. And so with this, like people, when software still use a centralized website to develop, users still have to rely on the centralized service to access decentralized services. And we still hit kind of the bottleneck in between. And so this is the current status of Web3. Yes, it's the author of the signal. So any questions regarding the current problems, status, or anything deep that want to clarify or discuss? Anyone? Okay. If no,
so
okay.
Dr. Zhou, how
Sure.
about the root causes users experience or some working area or maintain the servers is the cost, is the main cost?
I'm sorry.
The root causes
You are this one?
Yeah. If we just deploy our contract, smart contract with RAM or Polygon or something else. So it cannot finish the whole service with the root cause. Yeah. Only smart contract cannot finish the total service. So
no matter
the causes.
no matter the smart contract, but here I'm measuring the servers basically in a crypto term or blockchain.
Okay.
Yes,
The servers. Okay,
Right,
service
so
for the.
this things like actually when I submit a transaction or when I read the data from this scan or smart contract.
Yeah.
In general, I trust is a scan is returning the correct data to me.
So
but
the servers complete the computing and store the data and holding the network.
Yes.
So if we build by the community and decentralize the community to maintain many servers, is the way to resolve the question.
So then you need to first you need to trust the community, right? For example, I need to, for example, suppose like the Dapp Learning say, hey, I have a gas node service that I want to offer everybody.
Yeah, decentralize the server.
Trust the Dapp Learning.
Modern.
But if you read the
Modern Max.
What called Max?
Sorry.
Pardon. Say again.
In the actually when you read the for example Satoshi's white paper, the trust list means that I don't need to trust any third party to perform the transaction. It's based on the fact that everybody runs a Bitcoin node, so that he trusts the node he runs, right? I trust the node I runs, and then the nodes wire the consensus of work P2P network and collect all the data. Tell me, hey, this is the risk, the how the blockchain looks like. What are the balances? What are the transactions? And so this is actually the best, the most trustless way to when the Satoshi envision how the Bitcoin works. And so but actually nowadays a very few people runs Bitcoin node and a very few people runs gas node. Because like running these nodes needs expert knowledge, and for example, the node may be out of memory, maybe out of storage, maybe out of data, and so if you want to trust, for example, fully trust the data that Ethereum give you, so the best way is you run a gas and then get, hey, what's the contract of this? What's the call result of this? I want to submit a transaction to the network. But this is not true at this time because a lot of users now using centralized services to interact with blockchain.
Yeah. So,
I'm not sure I answered the question, this is your question, or maybe your question is different.
Yeah. So this is we must build some depths on depend on the centralized development. The second, I think it's not a problem. Centralized development, the community, for example, the GitHub, the Dapp Learning, we are a decentralized community. We can build some depths, even a big platform like Google. I think we have opportunity, not a big problem. It's just my opinion.
Which we would say is not a problem? The second one or this one?
The second one, yeah.
So probably this, I want to clarify that this called decentralized development means that develop this product on behind a centralized domain or service. It's not called a decentralized DAO or kind of like other things. It's just like a way that how Web2 develop the software. Right?
Okay.
So, sorry?
Okay. So you can go on.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different. Say, hey, for example, I can develop a smart contract on that and then build this with that. Yes, that you can do that, but that means you are also limited by the decentralized platform, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Or maybe I can say like this decentralized maybe platform or decentralized development. So this development can be anything. It can be any product, like even another platform, for example, cloud-based compilation or big table, all these kinds of things. Right? It's much faster than, for example, building another Ethereum or building another thing to address those problems. So they can run much faster iteration. For example, when they file a problem, they can quickly develop an infrastructure to solve this product problem. Right? I imagine how fast it can be.
So the left content you will discuss about the two problems, how to solve them. You can give some consultant or plan.
So I will give some I would say my vision. I won't say it will the looks like, but I would say this may looks like. And how we are maybe able to solve this problem, but still there are a lot of things that can be done. So that's why there's of sharing, right? So people can contribute this collaboratively, instead of like I thinking this or that. So this is the benefit, the value of our like the sharing outcome.
There may be long distance, but we are idealisms. I enjoy it. Oh, so you can go on.
Sure. Hello, yes.
Yeah, Dr. Zhou, yeah. I have a question, but it's not the technical perspective. So you talk about the decentralized, you talk about the censorship or anti-censorship, which is the positive features of the blockchain, right? But
yes.
We will, if everything is decentralized, if everything is anti-censorship, which means that we will have those kind of not good content or like pornography or bad content, which can be stored in this kind of decentralized storage or decentralized blockchain, right? So how do you think you can balance the extent of decentralized with the what we call the good stuff of the social value? So is fully decentralized very good? Is fully anti-censorship is very good? It may be a philosophy question, but from your perspective, what's your thought on that? Another stuff is that nowadays what we can only own is the assets, is the token, is the assets on the blockchain, right? But all the transaction history is open to everyone, which means that we can never keep our transactions, secret or to privatize it or to not let others, follow it according to the user's own will, right? Which means that your behavior is not really under your control. In terms of whether you want to show your behavior to others or not. So we only have the ownership of the asset of the tokens of the asset, but we don't have the ownership of how we really want to show our behavior to others or not. So is there any ways of preventing that? To I know that there are a lot of seeking knowledge stuff or those kind of crypto. You understand what, right? So but I don't know. Is there any way to fix that as well? So that's the major stuff I want to discuss here.
So I think those two are really good questions. So especially I don't think there are correct answers for the questions. But I just give my opinion on this. So right now, so yeah, you are right. So for the first question, you're right. So decentralized, definitely there's a censorship relationship, and censorship resistance also brings several problems. For example, like say selling drugs, right? Or maybe kind of like child porn, or a lot of these things that can, for example, use blockchain. A lot of people say, oh, what's the most usage of blockchain? And say, oh, they're wash money laundering, all kinds of things. But I think everything has their points and cons, the basic advantages and disadvantages. But we just want to see the balance, right? But right now, what we see, what I observe is that the centralized system is controlling and also like distorting like a lot of things. Like for example, that's why Facebook, a lot of people complain Facebook regarding their selling users data. And then this is feel like people need to say, hey, we are like enough with this centralized entity. Like Bitcoin, the biggest philosophy of Bitcoin is that all this fiat money, he disagree how US has done with the fiat money to save the economy, but actually they just save those big bankers in Wall Street. And so that shouldn't be, and that's why he created this, because they say we are actually on one extreme of centralized. And so I think right now we are not saying, hey, with this advantages where we don't like this. Like we will say, hey, we have something that we can balance between centralized and decentralized. I also agree that we shouldn't have everything to be decentralized, because that's nonsense. We still have something that has to be kind of like a centralized or balanced by centralized. And once we feel like, once this thing is partly centralized by different companies, like for example, multiple Facebook or multiple Google, that is kind of like decentralized. So are we also, okay, there are also questions. So the second question is actually you are asking is about what? I'm sorry, I forgot it. It's about
I was asking about how the users, or how we can
the data privacy problem.
Yeah, the data privacy problem. How we can really control our data to decide what kind of transaction we want to post to the public audience. What kind of transaction that we want to keep it private. So is there any way of
then basically the solution you can use in privacy networks like Monero, Zcash. But at the same time, one thing that I think blockchain tries to do is that either you do not disclose your data, or you will have your data to everybody, instead of your data is only available to somebody and even not yourself. And this is different, I would say, paradigm of like Web3 in terms of data privacy. So when you, for example, submit a transaction to blockchain, essentially you are agreed a user agreement. When you open the software, it's a long user agreement. I just browse the end and then I agree, done, okay? And basically you agree your agreement, say, I'm going to publish all the data, all this data to everybody. Or I just do not want everybody to know what I want to publish. It just to this choice. It's not like Facebook say, hey, before like for example, I have no idea which part of data are public or not. They may sell my this interest, or my sell that, or my sell this. You have no idea. So I think this is one thing. And second is like a privacy network that is doing completely different things. And I think there's a lot of interesting innovations there. But I don't want to go through the details because this is off the topic a bit. Yeah, I also saw other questions regarding creating mobile node. I think there's a lot of interesting experiment. There are a lot of technical difficulties because I see several other projects they are doing in this direction. So first, I will illustrate how it looks like, and I will also give some quick demo and how it works.
Oh, great.
And actually, there's a GitHub. I'm not sure what it means. So there are a couple of questions in the chat. So I think probably that should be all the questions here. Or any further questions or not? Then probably I can move because I feel I'm a bit late. I'm running a little bit late. So
if we're talking about the privacy or private data, I think we can define some conceptions before we are talking about, for example, the left side, we can publish to everyone can see, and the right side we can keep in secret. So I think we can give some serious conception to defend the privacy secret data or something, or not. We're talking. Someone think we must show the total transaction on blockchain. Someone I do not want to show this. So I think maybe some papers can show the difference and define consumptions. I don't know. And how about Dr. Joe think?
I'm sorry.
I thought there are several already secret products outside, like Dr. Joe just mentioned before, the decades, and I think there was like L2 privacy project as well, ongoing there. And I think there are many other projects outside, especially for those like capital. They are very focusing on these privacy projects. Like also, I think that there's one project just got money. It's like OS network or something like that, right? I think they are focusing on this, and this problem. What I want to say is that these problems are getting resolved now, and there are more and more capital into this category.
So the network, how they defend the really which belong to you and which belong to public. I want to find definitely.
I think they just try to match all those data, and their purpose is just to make sure that everyone on the train cannot understand what the data means. I mean, you can't just like currently you can see you can see the transaction very clearly on the train. There's no secret on the train, but what they're gonna do is just like hash or like mash and just store everything, and you just can't see anything. You can just try the JK money. I have been doing that. I have sent one transaction on JK money before, and currently the experience is.
I'm sorry. I think we should continue. Like I think we are run out of
okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. So I think one solution I'm thinking about is like what should the future of Web3 look like? It's like one line sentence is called like end-to-end trustless decentralized web. And so basically, we want to end-to-end. That means that the user, when entering into this blockchain, it doesn't need to rely on any centralized service, even DNS. One thing only it relies on is just internet, which is already decentralized. And DNS even is kind of like centralized because like the domain, actually the root servers are in the United States, then basically you can still censor any domain. And so we do not need those things in Web3. We need end-to-end decentralized web. And one example about how it looks like. It's like this, like user have a browser, still we have a browser because we don't want to change the user's behavior. And when it enters some addresses, it will basically enter, the data will be entered into an extension like MetaMask in the browser, which it will run as a light client. So I think somebody mentioned about running a light client or a node in the mobile. Actually, I'm going to run a light client in the browser. A user have no idea. You just know, oh, this is a light client. It's basically directly connect to the P2P network, routing P2P network directly without any other server in between that I am not trusted. Okay, and so all the line here is pretty straight, just 3 things, and they are all built on top of trusted connections. And this is one example. And definitely once we have, for example, the applications on the mobile, and also like, for example, on the mobile browser, then we may have this light client, and then on top of the mobile, and that is another kind of like implementation like this. But essentially, we want end-to-end trustless decentralized web. Everything is built on the direct trusted setup offered by the blockchain and the software on the user's machine. So let me give an example how it looks like. So let's take example of performing a swap. And so first, user type address, which here is a little bit different. It's for Web3, right? I just give you a protocol in Web3 instead of HTTP. And second is called uniswap.eth. And so the first one tells which protocol we want to use. The second tells us which information on the blockchain I want to read, and which is tell me the uniswap.eth, which is the address from ENS. So the ENS, the license client search the blockchain node in P2P and find the corresponding address of uniswap.eth that points to. So here I give an example, 0xAABBCCDD. And then the light client said, oh, I got this contract, and then I want to call this contract. Tell me how I should display the web content to the user. Now the P2P node that I connect to tell me, hey, this is the corresponding EVM response of this web content on the latest block. And this is cryptographic proof. And this is the cryptographic proof, both in terms of Merkle proof and also consensus proof, says that this is created by the blockchain. So I can trust the data. Now I can display it to the client, to the user with HTML, blah, 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 blah. And now user is able to read this web page completely decentralized. There's nothing centralized identity in the whole procedure. Okay, any questions?
Oh, I have a question.
Sure.
Like Uniswap, there are many contract address. You can't simply define the only the address to visit. Yeah.
Oh, so let me explain. Here, there's some probably misunderstanding here. Here, there are actually 2 sets of contracts. One set of contracts is basically, I would say, call it functional contracts. The current Uniswap contract list. Like, for example, trading pair, a router, factory, all this. Okay. The second contract is called I would say probably backend contract that will act as a backend of a web server. So here, this address, it just responds, the backend kind of like responds HTML data. And where the HTML contains further data.
So the first point is that you store HTML and CSS in the EVM. Wow,
Yes.
wow, it's a large content.
Yeah, but I will tell you that something really interesting can be done here. So yeah, we will have this soon. Okay.
So this is a new protocol that not compatible with the current Ethereum.
Sorry, what was?
This is a new solution, but not compatible with current Ethereum.
What was the name?
Which name? ETH.
ETH?
I say, I write it down. Okay. You can continue. We can talk in detail after the sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So this is basically I want to perform swap. Second is like I want to not only like to do some other things. I can do also social file, right? I want to read a tweet or some blog that written by somebody and which give me a link and say, hey, this is something interesting you should read. Okay, here's the link, which tell me to access this contract and call the contract view method and with this integer as parameter. Okay, so the light client first search the P2P node and find the address of Twitter.eth, which give us this address. No, this is still backend address. It's not any functional related to it. And then the light client says, oh, I want to call this contract with the view method with the argument you integer this. And now the contract responds me an HTML, blah, blah, blah. So now I can read. It's like mirror the XYZ, right? But mirror the .xyz is still hosted by a centralized server. Now it's completely hosted by decentralized web. Okay, any questions, buddy?
So if I'm not wrong, you are trying to decentralize the whole Web2. I mean the Twitter. You are trying to decentralize. You are trying to decentralize the Twitter interaction logic, right?
In this example, so what's the scope of your question? You mean this example?
Yeah. So what my question would be that, what will be the benefit?
Benefit of what? Of this example or this
compared to current Twitter-like product, this kind of logic, what will be the benefit? What the end user can get from this? Is there anything better than the original one?
I think that's a model, a MVP of displaying the mod.
He said, what's the advantage of the solution?
Yes.
Compared to Web2, or we need something to compare with.
Yeah, compared to current product like Twitter, because what I can.
The key thing is like what will be said, right? Like we want to have a decentralized thing that is cannot be decentralized censorship. So for example, when I put a Uniswap ETH website on this thing, then I can say, hey, this website is controlled by DAO. It's not controlled by Uniswap company itself, and I cannot like have the ability to, for example, delist those tokens that SEC don't want them to trade, right? This is censorship resistant.
Yeah, my question is that it seems that there are quite a lot of things that need to be done there, because like Twitter, it has so many users, and those huge big data and those things. If you do in this way, I just can't imagine how these things can be done in like blockchain way. Because
so we may not just completely replicate feature, right? I just give example. For example, like mirror the XYZ. Now, I'm not sure you ever used it. It's quite straightforward. It can be. It doesn't have pretty complicated logic, right? Then we can easily replicate it on this, but we've fully decentralized the features.
okay, I think I can understand that.
Yeah. So one thing like people say social file is kind of like different mechanism that people can interact. For example, for this tree itself is an NFT. It's NFT itself because it's not like tree, you treat it's just there. But here, anything you write is NFT. And there are a lot of things we can be done, right? It's like, oh, why we want to put a Jeep and create an NFT and sell it, right? It's a completely different paradigm that people imagine how the Web3 looks like. Okay. So if no more further questions, then I will move to a demo. So that I will quickly tell